Right, Mary, I'm very lucky today because you're going to be making me some Welsh cakes, aren't you?
Well, I will have a good go anyway.
So tell me first of all, what goes into it?
What I've got here is a pound of self-raising flour and half a teaspoonful of baking powder. And to that, I'm going to add 6 ounces of caster sugar and put that all together. Now, the trick is I always learned to make Welsh cakes with my mother. And putting the sugar into the flour and then adding the fat, the grittiness of the sugar helps the fat rub in quicker.
Now, is there quite a technique to do you just sort of pinching it?
Just pinch it and rub it in
Okay.
like breadcrumbs. You just, yes, there you are, pinch it broad and keep rubbing it in, just as you do pastry.
And presumably not everyone uses lard these days, do they?
No, and I'm using lard because that is very much a traditional way of making them. I suppose the lard that the old people used was after killing the pig, they rendered down the lard. It was beautiful. It was lily white and sort of nearly translucent. And they would store it in stone jars. And then you'd get remember my sister and I were children, to get the lard down and get our hands in and take out the lump of lard ready to baking. I think Welsh cakes, when we were children, were one of the first things we learned to make.
I was going to say, you must have been doing stuff like this. You must have loved that when you were a child.
Oh, I did,
absolutely.
absolutely. I loved cooking, loved baking.
Okay, Mary, so what comes next?
Right, we now add the fruit. So 4 ounces of... I've got sultanas. Lots of people like currants. You can put whatever you like, and mixed fruit if you like. I don't like peels, so I don't put mixed fruit in. But currants or sultanas. I prefer sultanas. And then make a little well, and then we add the egg, 1 beaten egg with a tablespoon of milk. Now, don't add this all at once because we don't know whether we need it all, so just a little bit.
And mix it in?
Bring it together now.
Okay.
This is the nice bit.
This is nice and sticky. You can feel it feels like sort of Welsh
it should
cakes.
come together now as a nice...
And do you know all the ingredients and all the portions off by heart?
Yes, I do.
You don't look at recipes?
Because I've made them so often. But in my mother's days, when she was baking, a pound of flour, she always used 3 pounds of flour. She would never bake with anything less than 3 pounds of flour because it wasn't worth it when you had men on the farm.
Ah, so you'd give them Welsh cakes when they were working in the field, would you?
Oh yes, for tea there was always a tin of Welsh cakes available. And
I suppose it's because of all that lard and butter. I mean, that's energy, isn't it, if you're working hard on the farm?
Yes. And it didn't do them any harm either. I think they were working so hard, they were working it off.
And do you remember how often she used to make them then? Would it be...
at least once a week, yes. There'd be a baking day.
So I've got a tiny ball and
You've got a tiny ball. We'll have it. There we are. We'll use the tiny ball first.
Practice one for me.
Just put it into a nice bowl.
Yeah.
Have your rolling pin. And just a bit of flour on the rolling pin. And roll them out. Get a cutter. I've got a 2-inch cutter to about 1/4 of an inch thick. It's up to the individual.
Because sometimes you get Welsh cakes that are really quite thick, don't you?
Yes, but you want to make sure they're cooked through because some of them can be very heavy in the middle and you don't want them to be too...
And they can be quite different because sometimes
yes,
they're quite dry,
do
quite biscuity,
yes.
but your ones look like they're going to be very buttery, nice and sort of soft and smooth.
We hope so, anyway. Now we have to cook them. So we have a griddle, but it was always known as a plank to cook them on. And they were huge and very heavy. The one I've got is very light and much smaller version.
So Mary, we're ready for a turning now?
Yes, we're going to turn them over now.
And is it all right to handle them? You're not going to make them fall apart?
No. In fact, there you are, I can do that. A lot of people simply do that, and knowing me, they fall off the plank.
They're a lovely colour, aren't they?
Yes, they are. See, there we are. Do you want to have a go at doing that one?
Go on then.
You go and do that.
We don't mess it up.
No.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
So how many minutes do you think we've been cooking these for? Then?
I would think they were about, say, 3 minutes on a reasonable heat. They were on about 3 minutes. About 3 minutes each side. But again, it is up to the individual.
And is it the colour you're judging by more
I like
than
the colour, and they will cook through in that 3 minutes. 3 minutes each side on that thickness, and they will cook through. You don't want them to have a line of sort of raw in the middle.
And this you've talked about this, the plank. What is that exactly?
Well, a lot of people call it a griddle, but I've always known it as a plank as a child. Okay, and another thing I've heard it called as a child, simply a bake stone. That's another name for it. But I've always known it as a plank, and I've always called it a plank.
But if you didn't have one of those, what could you use at home instead?
In this day and age, you can use an electric frying pan. You could use an ordinary heavy-based frying pan. And I know a lot of people who do it very successfully, straight on to the hot plate of their Ray-Bans and Argers.
They smell delicious, Mary. Are they ready now?
They are, yes, they are ready. We were taking them off now, putting them onto a cooling rack. But you know the nicest way to eat Welsh cakes?
Ooh.
Straight from the plank, piping hot.
Oh my God.
They are hot. They're lovely.
That's delicious. That's really good. Before anyone else gets
Oh
them.
yes, absolutely. That was the best way to do it.